Hey, what's up guys? Bajheera here. Now for this video, we're going to be checking out a game called LINEAGE2 Revolution, which is a new mobile MMO made by Netmarble. And huge shoutouts to Netmarble for sponsoring this video, giving me a chance to check it out and share it with you guys. And if you like what you see, you can pre-register for free using the links below and get access to exclusive rewards. And since Netmarble did hook me up with a max level character on one of their QA servers, my goal for this video is to show you all the cool stuff you can look forward to at max level. But keep in mind, a lot of the basic stuff I'm showing you are things that you're going to be seeing throughout the course of your time playing, like doing dungeons, doing quests, upgrading your character's gear, upgrading your character's soul crystals within your gear, upgrading your character's rune sets. All these kind of things factor into the greater progression of the game, but at max level, everything's turned up a notch. So if you're a bit of a progression fiend like I am, I think this game is going to be something that you enjoy quite a bit. I will warn you, it does get a bit addictive. It feels like there's always something to do. It feels like there's always some way that you can be making your character stronger. And one of the ways that you can do that are basically what you're seeing here. This is a daily dungeon, right? So the daily dungeons, depending on which one you do, offer you different kinds of rewards for progress. So obviously there's going to be some gold, which is called like Adina in this game. You also have the opportunity to gain experience, but since this character is max level, I don't really have to worry about experience too much. But one of the main things, like I mentioned, are you get different sort of materials to upgrade your gear, different sort of materials that you need to, craft different things. So right there, I just got a little enhanced weapon scroll. So in order to try to obviously enhance your weapons, you need some of those scrolls in order to do that. But you'll see that different dungeons give you upgrade stones, they give you upgrade scrolls, so you can look forward to putting some work in the dungeons to unlock the different materials you need to improve your gear. But as you can see here, there's a ton of different options for different kinds of PvE that you can do. And even though I'm max level, one of the things that you're probably going to get very acquainted with are these experience dungeons, which is basically a timed event. You have 3 minutes to get in here and pretty much crush as many mobs as you can. There are 3 different kinds of buffs that will spawn, and I think the one that I like the most right now is at least the attack speed one. You'll notice that I'm playing a class variant of the warrior class called the Paladin, so I figured that if I was going to be riding solo, I think a little bit of a tankier character would work well. So a lot of what I do is buff myself to take less damage and debuff my opponents to basically stun lock them and control them so they can't really deal that much damage to me. Pretty much a very, very tanky class, but everybody seems to be able to dish out quite a bit of damage, especially once I get this attack speed buff. So in this dungeon, you'll see I only have like 10 seconds left, but since I've defeated, 130 plus monsters, I'm gonna get a grade S in this dungeon. And the more monsters you kill, the more experience you get, and I bet running this dungeon with a party would make that even better. Since I'm on the QA server, a lot of what I'm doing is solo, but if you are a mostly solo player, you're still going to have plenty of stuff to do and not have too much trouble trying to progress your character, even if you just want to play solo. But since LINEAGE2 Revolution is a mobile MMO, you shouldn't have too much trouble finding people to partner up with if you did want to try out some dungeons like the Summoning Stone dungeon, which is going to be a pretty high reward dungeon, but it does take, at least 2 people in your party. And I think it's the same sort of thing with the equipment dungeons there, that you're going to need at least 2 people in your party to do it. I mean, I feel like I could probably solo it. My combat score is plenty high enough. But even if you want to challenge yourself with some higher difficulty content as a solo player, the elite dungeons, despite being more difficult, despite having the monsters have a lot more health and stuff, you at least can queue for those by yourself. But what I'm going to show you here is a bit of a lower level one. Just going to join the, basically the first one that's possible. So I'm going to be one-shotting a lot of these monsters, but in order to gain your experience for the dungeon, you're basically just going to run in there and try to complete the designated quest as fast as possible. You'll notice that there's hot time there, so whenever you enter an elite dungeon, you'll receive 30 minutes of that hot time, which greatly increases your drop rate and experience boost. So the hot timer on the top right tells you how much hot time you have left. Doing content that's really, really challenging for you, you might be, spending more time in there, but the experience reward will probably be worth it. That being said, if you are able to join a party, which shouldn't be too hard, so like I said, it's because it's a mobile MMO, so a lot of people are playing, you should be able to get a group and knock this out much more quickly. But you see what I just did there is I killed as many of the monsters as I needed to kill, and a reward for completing that particular objective will pop up right in my mailbox. You can go to your mailbox, receive all the rewards, and you're good to go. Another one of the things that you can do if you're looking for challenging content is this Tower of Insolence. So over time, you'll have to battle through tons and tons of floors for different rewards, but since my character is such a beast, since I've cleared this kind of stuff, I can go ahead and auto-clear most of it and get the rewards on the way up, and then I can actually battle through the floors that are really challenging. So how this works, as I'll show you in a second, you have basically 5 waves of monsters to defeat, and then you have a boss at the end. But this also not only has challenging monsters, it's going to have a pretty powerful boss on a time limit too. So you'll notice that I have to use some kiting, I have to run away from the monsters a little bit just to give my potion cooldown a chance to get back up, and my ability cooldowns a chance to get back up. But you do have to make sure that you're actually dealing enough damage to beat the timer. So it's not like a super complicated strategy for me. I'm just trying to, as much as possible, avoid this situation that I just showed you, where one monster is behind me, another monster is in front of me. So you basically want to make sure that you're cleaving as much as possible, doing as much damage, because it's basically just a damage race. It's a damage and survival race. Your character has a ton of different ways to improve their combat score, and making sure that you can, you know, beat the timer in damage and not take too much damage and die. So I try to clear out the starting waves as much as possible so that I have a comfortable amount of time to be able to kite around, because the boss deals a significant amount of damage. Fortunately, I killed all the starting waves fast enough that I can pretty much just stand in here and hammer the boss without too much fear of having to kite him too badly. But for some of the floors, when it gets pretty sketchy, especially when you're doing, you know, content that is well above your recommended combat score is well above your actual combat score, you probably will have to kite around a little bit. But fortunately, I'm able to just wail away on this boss and knock it out. So like I said before, Netmarble did provide me with a max level character with some really high level gear, but it was still up to me to do a lot of the things that are necessary to progress your character. Like, I had to put in a lot of my own gems in my gear, I had to buff up my rune page a ton, and I had to make sure that my actual gear was upgraded as well. But as I'll talk about later in the video, there's a ton of different ways to progress your character. So I mentioned myself being a bit of a progression fiend, and that is definitely the case. Keep in mind, though, that you are probably going to need some cash monies in order to progress your character. And by cash monies, I mean their Adina, their currency in the game, gold. And this is one of those ways to farm up a lot of gold quickly. This is another one of those 3-minute timed dungeons, which is designed to allow you to smack this big golden dragon boss and all the little hatchlings that spawn as well, until they spawn a treasure chest that you're going to want to go grab. You want to knock out the treasure chest as much as possible. You don't actually have to kill the dragon in order to complete the dungeon, but you are going to want to make sure that you secure as much Adina as possible, because this dungeon gives you a chance to really stock up on the resources that you're going to need to upgrade your character. For example, you definitely need the Adina to upgrade your rune page, to upgrade your gear. So pretty much everything in the game is going to require you to put in some work in the dungeons, but all that takes place very smoothly. Another example of a dungeon that involves very little combat are the extraction dungeons, where you're pretty much going to enter into this zone and extract as many herbs as you can grab, basically like, you know, 20 or so. After 20 herbs, the game is going to be like, okay, you're done extracting for now. But one of the ways that you can spend a little bit less time in these dungeons, because the extraction does take a little bit of time, is to kill these little mobs that spawn. It gives you a little buff that allows you to harvest those herbs a little bit faster. And the reason why herbs are useful is because it allows you to craft potions for yourself. So we'll look a little bit later on in the shop. You can always just buy potions in the shop, but one of the potions that you can't buy in the shop are potions that buff your attack and defense. So this sort of thing is really nice to be able to run in these dungeons and actually craft your own potions. So you'll see these little elixirs that I'm making right now are going to be able to buff my attack and defense, which is really nice when you're trying to push any kind of content that's difficult for you. The little attack and defense buffs are nice, but also just in terms of farming, if you can farm a little faster, that's always good too. So what I'm going to show you here is the rune system. So the runes are basically another way of upgrading your character over time to increase a whole bunch of stats across the board, all factoring into the greater stat, which is your combat score. So you'll see these runes being upgraded require a certain amount of resources, but also give you a significant boost to your combat score, especially if you're able to complete the level up process across all the little minor stats. Then it will increase the entire level of the whole rune page, and you'll get a much more significant buff there in terms of your combat power. But as you'll see, the runes get pretty complicated, and filling out the rune page near, like, you know, rune page 8 takes quite a bit of investment. but makes your character much more powerful. So basically the way to look at that is there's always room for improvement on your character. There's always ways to beef your character up. And another one of those that I mentioned before is enhancing your gear. So you're seeing me enhance my armor right now. It takes a few scrolls, takes a few Adina, but if the upgrade is successful, then it gives you a pretty significant boost to your stats. So this is basically the way to improve your character over time. You're going to be running quests, you're going to be running dungeons, you're going to be getting resources to upgrade your character, and then you can use those resources to upgrade your gear, your runes, and then of course your soul crystals as well, which I'm going to show you just in a moment. So right here what we're doing is actually upgrading the level of the gear, but within the gear you have soul crystals as well. So the soul crystals all have, like your gear, have different grades to them, right? So what you're going to be looking for are higher level crystals to put in your gear to make it more powerful. So what I'm doing here is, unfortunately, like, the game is super complex. There's a ton of room for customization. But one of the things I'm very grateful to for a player who's new like me is that a lot of the things in this game with respect to loot are somewhat automated, right? So you'll be questing around, you'll be doing your daily quests, you'll be doing your dungeons, loot will drop for you, and you can spend the time to sort of min-max every single stat yourself and look at and see what looks most powerful to you, or you can just say, auto-equip my best loot, and it will. It'll pick the best combat score for you and auto-equip that for you, and I like that a lot. Same thing with the soul crystals you saw there. You can say, for this piece of gear, I'm going to remove all the gems that are in it, and then I'm going to say, all right, now you can auto-equip all the best gems, and that'll give you the chance to have your gear basically be taking care of it for you and give your best combat score, which is really, really nice for a mobile game like this. Sometimes one of the nice things about mobile games are you just can play a little bit at a time, and, you know, if you want to take the time to really get into it and fully explore all the complexity of the depth of it, you can. But if you say, you know what, mobile game, just go ahead and give me my best loot on, go ahead and give me my best soul gems on there, do whatever you gotta do to make my best combat score, that's nice too. And what I'm showing you right now is probably one of my favorite things about Lineage 2 Revolutions, the fact that they have a 1v1 arena set up here. Now, I believe the way that this is going to work is that you're going to be battling against other players' characters and seeing how you stack up with everybody else on a ranked ladder as well. And this system obviously brings a ton of rewards for you to get. My experience with this was mostly just one-shotting low-level characters because, you know, I have a maxed-out character who hadn't done any arena before, so it was a pretty quick experience, but I could definitely see how setting up your character's talents and abilities for PvP specifically would be a lot of fun. Me, seeing a 1v1 arena system in a game like this is really exciting to me, but they also have fortress sieges, which are available at certain times, which looks like it's a big, like, you know, big battle where you have to capture different objectives that give you different buffs and, you know, destroy different aspects of the fortress to finally destroy and capture the main fortress, which is really cool. So there's a lot of different PvE options, but also the PvP in this game would be really interesting to me to check out as well. But one of the things that I'm showing you now are the weekly quests, right? So if you're getting the idea by now, there's a ton to do in this game, and all of it in some way affects your continued growth of the character. So it seems like if you want to do dungeons, great. If you just want to do daily quests and go farm a bunch of mobs, great. I think there's a bunch of different paths to improving your character, but no matter what you're doing, you know, whether it's, you know, dungeons or daily quests, you're going to be killing a bunch of monsters, right? And one of the crazy things about killing all those monsters is you actually go to your monster codex, and depending on how many monsters you've killed, you can list, you know, as many of the monsters as you have killed, and they become part of your greater achievement within the, you know, monster codex, and they actually make your character stronger as well. They give you little stats depending on how many you've killed, which is amazing. So for me, you know, being able to log into a really complicated game like this at max level and understand that pretty much anything you do in the game is going to be improving your strength over time is pretty wild to me. So this is a game that you can spend as much or as little time on as you want, but regardless of what you're doing, you're going to always have tons of different ways of buffing up your character. There's going to be a bunch of different rewards for doing quests, for upgrading your gear, for killing monsters. There's basically just a ton to do all the time. And maybe I'm just an old man at this point, but I am just blown away by the depth of a mobile game like Lineage 2. I mean, there are so many different avenues of progression, and all of them sort of factor into the greater strength of your character, that combat score, like even titles and stuff. And my first look at this game, even as a max level character, I feel like I'm pretty much just scratching the surface. I feel like you guys, if you started a fresh character, would really be led along a pretty standard path of trying to learn and understand all of this stuff. So if it looks overwhelming to you, you're not alone. I'm even a little bit overwhelmed at how much stuff there is, but basically understand that this is a game that provides you with, like I mentioned, tons of avenues for progression of your character. Whether you want to do PvE, PvP, it's all available for you. And everything that you're doing, whether it's, you know, killing mobs out in the world or doing the quests, basically gives you a variety of different rewards, right? So you have achievements for doing quests, and the quest gives you a reward, the achievement gives you a reward, and just killing the monsters themselves, you go to the monster codex, and that gives you a reward too. All the while, you're farming resources to beef up your character's gear, soul crystals, and runes. So the progression system is pretty wild, and definitely worth giving a try to. And as with any MMO that you would expect, you can definitely be as part of a guild or a clan in this game. You can make your own if you want to as well. You got an emblem, you can create the clan for your friends, and you guys can farm content together, just like any other MMO. So I feel like this video right now is, just like I said, just scratching the surface of how much stuff there is to do in this game. And obviously, if you couldn't tell, I feel like the graphics are pretty impressive as well. I genuinely don't feel like my recording software does the graphics justice. Once you get this thing on your phone or your iPad or your Amazon device or whatever, I think you guys will be blown away by how good this game looks. It basically looks like it could be a PC game, but it's just, you know, available on your phone or whatever, which is just wild to me. Like I said, this is the kind of thing where when I was younger, if I saw a free-to-play game like this, it would just take over my life. So, and I had a lot of fun playing it so far. I think I've put in quite a few hours already just sort of checking the game out for making a video for you guys, but I definitely think it's worth checking out. And as you would expect, there is a rich shop system as well. I just showed you guys that you could purchase a variety of different consumables to help you get through your questing, but you can also check out free or purchasable through, I think you can buy the blue gems with real money, but you can get the red gems basically just by doing anything in the game, and those red gems allow you to buy loot boxes for different gear, or you can buy the luxury material boxes, which give you a variety of stuff for crafting, right? So the crafting stuff is used for your runes, your gems, your upgrading your gear, for crafting the potions and stuff too. So basically, this is another one of those ways that you can use all the material that you're farming, right? So if you need new gear, you can always just check out the equipment boxes. If you need new resources for upgrading your gear or for crafting materials, you can always use the other boxes. And I think that's really, really neat that the red gems are something that you can get through just questing, right? So that makes me happy to see that. So you quest up, you farm it up, and then you can have all kinds of different ways of buying new loot for yourself or buying new materials for yourself. So it's actually just insane how deep the game is for a mobile game. So you can see how this game sort of style gets addictive pretty quickly, is that there's always something to do, right? And pretty much there's not really any wrong way to go either. You pretty much just pursue whatever you think is interesting and go for it. And one of the things that's neat is that even though it is super complex and very, very deep and there's all kinds of different things to do, I think fortunately, since it is a mobile game, a fair amount of it is automated. So what you can do is you can say, okay, I want to do this weekly quest. So you go to your weekly quest menu, right? And there'll be one ready for you. You say start quest, and then you can teleport right there. And then you can go into auto battle mode, where basically you can still move your character around however you want, but your character will do whatever sort of optimal rotation it can, right? So it'll just auto attack whenever auto attack's the only thing available, and then it'll drop down your abilities whenever that's available too. And it'll continuously seek out monsters to go kill for you. So it's a game that, like, this sort of quest takes about, like, I don't know, probably a little bit under 3 minutes for me, killing 24 monsters. And I feel like that's probably about right. So you can expect to be able to play this game, to get something done, whether it's a quest, whether it's a dungeon, whether it's a PvP match, or a few, in about 3 minutes. So it's very digestible little bits of content whenever you want to play. I mean, obviously, if you just want to be a farm lord and play this game for a couple hours at a time, you can do that as well. And you can also look forward to me streaming this game. I think early in October, we're going to be doing some streams of this game, so look out for that, where we'll just be running around and kicking butt. But yeah, if you want to be able to play this game like a super farm lord and control every aspect of it and be, you know, very micromanagey about it, you certainly can. But if you just want to play this as a mobile game that you can pick up and play for a few minutes and kind of have a lot of it be automated for you and just sort of keep powering up your character over time, then you can do that too. And I think that's really, really neat about this sort of game, is that since it's a mobile game, it kind of has that aspect to it but it makes it really interesting for like kind of progression fiends like me. Like I love making characters, you know, and playing games like this where you get better gear, better skills, better loot. That's really cool too. So one of the things I actually didn't show in this video yet is the fact that you can go through and upgrade your skills as well. It's one of the progression paths for your character too. That is going to take Adina, and it's also going to take little skill gems as well. But you'll get a lot of skill gems through questing and through leveling up, so you'll have plenty of those as you go. Just keep that in mind as well. So if this game looks like fun to you, make sure to use the links in the description to pre-register for free and get those exclusive rewards. Once again, huge shout outs to Netmarble for sponsoring this video and giving me a shot to check out this game and share it with you guys, because it is a really, really fun one. And like I said earlier in the video, maybe I'm just old, but I am blown away that a game like this can be played on a mobile device now. I mean, it's insane. Like I said earlier, if I was like a little kid and I had a game like this, I'd be hooked. I mean, I'm a fully grown man and I'm about hooked on this game, so just be advised, be ready to put some time into this game, because it's a whole lot of fun. But I enjoyed playing it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely be sure to give it a big thumbs up, leave a comment if you enjoyed it as well. Keep an eye out for future streams, and once again, thank you to Netmarble for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check out the link in the description to give this game a try and let me know what you think in the comments below. But either way, really appreciate you guys watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!